Hello, fellow floater sufferers and those who are interested in floater treatments with laser. My name is Tony Paget, and I'm going to document my treatment with the YAG laser with Dr. Johnson in Irvine, California. So the floater doctor, as he calls himself, and that's also, I think, the floater doctor is his website. I'll put a link here on the below for you to look at. After I've had the floaters for really about 3-4 years. Basically, my right eye was up to the right, was a little cobwebby one and a little dot. And I noticed it sometimes. I went to my optometrist a couple different times. And when I noticed them and started getting a little panicky about this, is it getting worse? And she would just say, no retinal detachment, everything's fine. They're just floaters and you'll get used to them. And I did. They were out of my vision kind of. I just kind of noticed them on a very sunny day and they became really pronounced. However, about 6 months ago, it started getting worse. I think what's happened is that cobwebby, kind of translucent floater patch, along with the patch or dot blotch, has come down into the center of my vision in my right eye. And at first, it became very, I got kind of distraught about it, a bit panicky. Went to an optometrist. He did the scan of the back of the eye, everything like that. No retinal detachment. Everything's fine. You just got floaters. That's about it. So I didn't think you could just say that's just about it. So like everybody else who gets some kind of affliction or illness or disease or whatever you want to call it, you go online, you start searching. And I found that there is a variety of there's basically two treatments. Laser, which only a few doctors in the U.S. do. This is where they go into the eye. It's a cone, and they kind of dissolve or pulverize the floater with energy, laser energy. And I've heard that can be a kind of hit and miss, pardon the pun, on the effectiveness of that. And then there's also a full operation, a floater-only vitrectomy, which will drain your vitreous, this liquid gel in your eye. I've seen those videos. You can look them up yourself. A little disturbing to see, and I think it's pretty radical. My floaters aren't to the point where I can't function. I can function, but they're, at first I became distraught, but after a couple months, they're more of an annoyance and frustration in working on a computer or just enjoying watching TV or doing what have you. Sometimes I just kind of, it's almost like a fly. You kind of notice it, kind of don't. But it's come to the point where I thought, you know what? I don't want to live with this for the rest of my life. I don't want to have a vitrectomy. That sounds really severe for the kind of mild case that I've got. So why don't I do the YAG laser? And I went to a variety of different ophthalmologists that supposedly does the YAG laser. But one that I went to, he said he couldn't see the floaters at all, which I found very strange because two optometrists, one, when I moved, I had different optometrists. Both of them said they could see, at least one of them. I probably couldn't see the cobwebby stuff. Another one, when I visited him, he said that his first question was, do you have a cataract? And I said, no, I don't. He says, well, you're not supposed to do laser treatment unless you have a cataract because the laser treatment causes cataract. And I never heard such a thing. And I even said to him, well, why didn't you just ask me before I came in here? You got all of my information and stuff, will waste my time, waste your time. And now you're just telling me that's the litmus test that we have to follow and you won't do the treatment. Okay. So he was a bit young. I think he was just getting into it. Put him aside. Let's see. And I went to another doctor who said, ophthalmologist, all these are within driving ranges where I live. And he said he could see at least the blotchy one, but it was too close to the lens to treat. So that was a bit of a disappointment. So I kind of gave up and I said, you know what, why am I fooling around? I know these guys are all close with my range, and I know they all take the insurance, but why not go to somebody that just does it professionally and that's all he does? And I'm going to Dr. Johnson in a few days. And I thought I'd let you know what's happening first so that I can document my day-by-day treatment. I'm hoping to do day-by-day treatment depending on what's happening. and let you know, and you can decide for yourself how effective it is, if it's for you. Get rid of all these myths that that you might hear out there. You hear it personally as I go through the treatment. This is not a paid endorsement from Dr. Johnson. This is me just helping the community. Hopefully this sheds more light on what's happening. So just for the record again, I have a patch, a little blotch kind of in my center vision, a little cobwebby thing. And then also I noticed, not right now, but sometimes when I'm watching TV or at night, or when a bright light comes in from the window, like the sun, of course, the sun, there's a blotch floater here in the corner of vision. Now, I'll leave that for Dr. Johnson to diagnose and treat accordingly. Now, my expectations on this, I don't think it's going to get 100%. If he can at least get the stuff that is in my vision cleared up to the point it's thin enough or dissolved enough that I can't notice it normally unless I'm like looking at a white background, that's all I want. That's all I want. So I'm hoping for that level. I know it may take 2, may take 3, maybe take 4 treatments. That's fine. And I'll continue to report day by day and then splice all these videos together for one complete story. So that's it. I hope this was helpful. If I think of anything else before the treatment, I'll make another video. But I am doing a 6-hour drive. I live in Arizona, and I'll take that 6-hour drive and take a video and let you know how it all works out. Hopefully this is helpful. Thanks. Bye.
About 4 hours ago, finished my visit with Dr. Johnson for the laser treatment in my right eye, and I can say that so far I'm quite pleased. Initial results. Now my eye was dilated, and I think it's still a little bit dilated, but 4 hours, I think it should probably be back to normal. I'm in a hotel. The bathroom here is very bright and very white. I did kind of before and after in memory test that before I went to the doctor, I went in the bathroom, light was all on, and I can just see swarms of black dust and my one dot in the middle and the cobweb and the clump that I have on the left, plus the little dots around in my vision. When I go in there now, surprisingly, I see one little sliver. If I really paid attention to it, but now the stuff in my left eye, which seemed to be less, is now irritating me because I can see that more. I'm focusing more on my left eye now than on my right. So overall, I wanted to tell you the results was so far so good. Some people I posted a quick update on Facebook, the Facebook group there. One person who's done this before says, "Don't be surprised if you wake up tomorrow and see some specks left over," and that's to be expected. So there is a second treatment that I'm supposed to go back to tomorrow for. So that's results. If you're interested in what actually took place, I'll explain that now. So my appointment with Dr. Johnson was at 10 o'clock this morning. He was there right on time. You walk into the office. He's in first of all, it's just a normal building, business building. It's not a clinic. You walk into this kind of the first floor of the building. You can find the address on Google Maps. You go right there, you park your car, you go in, and there's kind of a general reception area that is a reception for, I guess, all the business suites there. You say you're there to see Dr. Johnson. I'm Tony Paget, 10 o'clock. Great, you're right on time. Have a seat over here. They direct you to a couple seats. And in a few moments, Dr. Johnson comes out. I felt like I was seeing a movie star. It's the same guy that's in the videos that pops up, and you see him all the time if you've done any research whatsoever. Kind of interesting to meet him face to face. And sat me down in his office, had me fill out, we had some general talk. I think it was just to kind of get to know you, where you're from, what you're doing. And then he had me fill out a very simple, I think it was 2-page form: name, age, what's the problem, where's it happening, when do you see it most, any other underlying causes. And if I'm remembering correctly, and it's been about 6 hours, so I didn't write notes while I was doing this procedure. There was, here's the fee, the consultation fee is this, the procedure caused this, But anyway, pretty innocuous, a pretty innocuous form. Signed it, and then we went into a very, or I should say, he did, went into a very lengthy discussion about floaters, how they're developed, how the eye is formed when you're birthed, and then this happens. Floaters happen a lot with PVD, which I think is a posterior vitreous detachment, if I'm remembering that correctly, where the vitreous actually detaches from the back of your eye, around your eye. If you've been doing research, you understand what I mean. And that can cause floaters. Some with people with age, the floaters just naturally start to develop in the eye and clump together. And he went on and on. I mean, must have spoke a good 45 minutes. I felt like I was having my own live Discovery Channel episode on floaters by a doctor, where I could ask questions along the way. But some interesting food for thought, as well as the overall introduction to floaters and what he does, etc. That was great, and to the point I was almost like thinking, I'd really like to get to the treatment. I'm really curious. I think I missed one step before we actually did the discussion. I think he did a general, can I read the letters on the wall, and here we go, lower, etc. And I think he said some overall pressure on the eye to make sure that the pressure was okay. The order's not that important. I'm just giving you the content. So good, nice educational talk. Kind of made me want, like, okay, let's get on with it. This is great stuff, but I really want to see if this is possible. He did look into my eye. I think next, again, I'm forgetting the steps, but just the content is important, I think, for giving you understanding. As if you ever have gone to your eye doctor, they will stand back and they'll shoot like some light and look into your eye and see what they can see. Well, he looked into my eye and said that he could see some things, but not a lot. He says he doesn't see a lot of debris, a lot of floaters. Maybe he didn't use the word debris. A lot of floaters. But let's see what the microscope would entail. He says the good news is that there's no bad news, but that let's see what happens when we do the microscope and get behind the laser and really take a look at it. He says he might be able to see more. So I was a little disappointed to hear that, because I thought, I've heard what I've heard before. Barely see a few. It's not much, but I see a lot, all the shadows. Then there was a consent form that I read briefly through. I skimmed it, didn't see anything that really stuck out. The risk going into this. They're very low risk. I think this Dr. Johnson, makes sure that he doesn't want his reputation out there to be bad, because he knows people like me. He could be posting something on and say, I've gone blind in my eye because of this laser operation, and that is absolutely could ruin his career, and it's no way. I've not seen that, just to be clear, and I don't think, and I have not experienced that, of course, or else I wouldn't be doing this video. So I signed the consent form. He signed it as well. We moved over to another chair. Before you go there, he numbs your eyes. Okay, so I think he did 3 times different drops. I was really anticipating, okay, I hope he gets to see stuff when I sit down. You sit down, he says, here's a light. Look at this light with your left eye. Remember to blink. I'm going to take this kind of lens, put it on your eye, so it keeps your eye open. And also, I believe it holds it still when he's doing the laser, because you don't want to be looking around while he does a shot of the laser. The next thing you know, the light's kind of shining. If you ever had your retina looked at by an ophthalmologist or optometrist, and they shine that light back there, it's about the same thing. And he starts making interesting. There's some. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit more than I thought. Definitely more than I could see just with my handheld magnifying glass, or whatever that instrument is with my light. I can see over here. Over here. I think I could be wrong. He might have shot that laser 100 to 150 times. You ask him, he might tell me more than that, or maybe less than that. But it was quite almost like it felt like he's playing a little video game. And you could hear, he goes, there it is. Or not, maybe not. Tick, 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 tick. Maybe it's more of the right sound. You feel nothing. Your eye's numb from that contact or that lens that he's holding over top of your eye. You feel nothing. the whole procedure. He's talking to you, giving you, okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is what's the recovery period. You don't really have any. You can do anything you want really. You're gonna you're gonna have really your right eye is gonna be very dim for a while because I'm shining this bright light into it. And I had zero pain. The only issue I would say, something you're just going to have to kind of get used to, is that light can be very bright, and when he does shine it kind of in the center of my eye, it took me after a while everything to kind of say stop, I need a break. But just as I started to get that point, I could hear him shoot the laser. I didn't want him to stop because I thought if he stops and he missed that piece and it floated away and he couldn't see it again, and then I'd be doomed for that little piece coming back 2 weeks later or something. I just went ahead and just persevered to that light. If you ever had a bright light shine in your eyes for a long period of time with doctor's offices really directly, it is a different type of pain that I can't explain. It's not excruciating. It's not like you leave with a headache. It's just like almost your eyes want to look away. You can't help it because it's so bright. Happened, I think, 2 or 3 times, but then again, he shot it, the floater, and then it went away. So if you can just get through that part, I think you can. It's no problem. After he was finished, it took about 15 minutes maximum. I wouldn't even say, I would say no more. It was more than 10, but less than 15. I didn't have a stopwatch. That was the shortest part of the entire procedure, believe it or not. Everything else was information, getting to know you, explaining the floaters. And that's all, number one, to make you comfortable with what he's doing. And I think also what he called implied consent, that he's told you everything that you need to know about it. And this is your decision if you want to do it. And I would hope, who knows, but this seems to be a very, very, very safe and comfortable procedure. Now, as I said in my first video, my floaters are mild compared to, I think, some of you have out there. I mean, some of you have severe floaters, and those, I'm not a doctor, but maybe the laser may or may not be right for you. You have to ask him. I think that it's a very safe and effective procedure for people, at least in my condition, around my condition, which is mild floaters. My wife was with me. We drove to the grocery store to get some groceries, etc., for here at the hotel. They're not serving food, so we have to stock up a little bit here. Side story. Anyway, my eyes were dilated and I couldn't see any floaters. But if you've had your eyes dilated before and you've had floaters, you'll know that your floaters tend to not be as your floaters seem to be not as easy to see because there's a lot more light coming in, which covers the shadow on the back of your retina. So I was going to give it until about 4 hours later, and I just did. As I said, went in this very bright white bathroom, and I am very pleased with it. Again, one straggler there. Let's see what happens tomorrow morning when I wake up. I might see more because maybe my eye's still a little bit dilated, but overall, great results so far. Fingers crossed. That's all, and I will check back in tomorrow or as soon as I can afterwards, after day number 2.
Hi everyone. It's been about a week since I had my floater treatment. I'm back home, and I wanted to give you an update on how things are going so far. But first, let me just correct a few things from my last video. The last video I took was the day of the first treatment, and in the evening, before I went out, I was in a hotel room. I went to a white, very bright bathroom, white bathroom, if I remember correctly, and I said I couldn't see the floaters. Well, I'd spoken too soon. That afternoon, evening, I went out for some dinner with my wife, and it was very blue sky. Looked up, and I saw these kind of constellation of dots in my eyes. So when I said last time, I said all I could see is a few slivers. I think I still had my eyes were still somewhat dilated, so not the greatest report, but anyway, I was a little disappointed, but I said, okay, it was the first treatment. So the next day I went back, and I'll give you the results. So far, from the second treatment, so good. I do still see, if I really try to see them in a indoor situation, a couple dots, like a constellation of stars, but in reverse. My
the thick dot floater that I had before has shrank to a little dot, and those dots that I talked about were that cobwebby thing. The chunk that was in the to my left of my right eye, I don't see anymore. He must have got it, made it dissolve down to small enough that it's out of my periphery. And overall, when I'm indoors, if I don't really try to look at it, I don't notice it hardly at all. Watching TV, walking around. Now, if the walls of my home were white, or if it was a fluorescent light, if I had a really lot of sunlight coming in, maybe I would have a different story. But just generally speaking, windows open, just natural light coming in during the day, fine. Barely notice it. I could look at it, try to focus on it right now. If I look up, look to the wall, if I try to focus, yeah, I can see them. But what you try to do is you try to focus further beyond the floaters. Don't focus on the thin slivers that are left, but focus beyond them. And you'll learn to kind of like with tinnitus, if you have tinnitus, which I do, you'll learn to eventually ignore them. In other words, the operation has helped me to ignore these floaters a lot better. When I do look into the sky, blue sky, I just tried before. Again, I do see those dots a little bit here and there, but if I focus ahead, I just feel like they're a little bit of shadows. It's a little worse outside than it is inside. So overall, I would say 1 week later in 2 treatments, I say overall it's a pretty good success. I was probably at 8, when 10 being the worst, where you would just want to go crazy. I was probably an 8 or a 7 before the treatment. But after the 2 treatments, now I'm probably about a 3, maybe a 2, depending on what's going on, maybe a 1 if it's dark enough outside. So overall, good results. So let's back up and go over the second day, now that I gave you the results, which I'm sure you were keen to understand. But I'll give you just an idea. This is so that if you were to do this yourself, you would know what to expect. So the second day I came back, went into his office, Dr. Johnson. We sat down. He had a casual conversation, talked about the events of the day, talked about what's going on in life in general, and then he goes into kind of like, well, how's the treatment? Is it working? And where are you? And matter of fact, later on, he would ask a few questions and write them down. But first, it's more of a conversation. I said, yeah, I'm definitely noticing improvements. I would say I went from an 8 to about a 4. But I still see stragglers and dots and things like that. But I think good progress. So let's give it another try. And since the second treatment is included in your in the overall price, we moved forward with that. Again, he did check my eye vision. Can you read the first line, the second line, those type of things, the eye chart. He did look with I don't know what you would call it, the scope with the light going into your eye, but he said he couldn't see anything this time. Before, when he did that, he could see some, but this time he could see nothing. After that, he then dilated he didn't see any problems. He asked a few questions, wrote some notes down. Then the next part was that took about 20 minutes, maybe 30. And the next part is a little bit boring. He has to dilate your eyes and also numb your eyes. So that takes about 30 minutes. Comes in, puts the drops. I don't know which one was which. He goes back to his office, comes back in 5 minutes and drops again. And he plays some music. So I would say have some reading material, your phone or an iPad to read while you're waiting for the treatment. 30 minutes later, he's about ready, and he brings you over to the YAG laser, sits you down. Say it was about 10 minutes of treatment, maybe a little bit more. It was definitely less than the first day. He was looking around trying to find the stragglers. He did shoot someone. Every time he kept shooting, I'm going, yeah, I'm hoping he's hitting the right spots, because the smaller they get, the less he can see himself. He can't treat them, he can't see them, even though you yourself can see them, just like I can still see after the treatment, but they get smaller and smaller and smaller. They get so small you can't see them, but you'll be able to, well, you don't actually see the floaters, by the way. You see the shadow that the floaters create. It depends on where the floater is, your eyes, it depends on what kind of shadow it casts. So you're not actually seeing the floater itself, you're seeing the shadow that the floater casts. But anyway,
He can't see, the small dots that maybe you see, but that's okay. If they get really small enough, again, like I said before, you could probably learn to ignore them on a daily basis, unless you focus on them like I'm trying to now. And I go, oh, yep, there I see a couple dots, like specks of dust, I would call them. So the treatment was finished, and got back up, went back to the little chair where he does his diagnosis and things like that. And he said, gives you a little spiel, okay, everything looks good. Hopefully they'll help. And he then gives you the bill. And here I have the actual receipt, the payment you pay that day. You pay cash or card. I pay credit card. There's the receipt, and it has for you already spelled out the diagnosis code, the description, the EMCPT codes that you will need to submit to your insurance if they accept it. And I've talked to my insurance. Everybody's insurance is going to be different, but my insurance should cover roughly about a half of the cost overall. Make sure he didn't do it for me. I don't think it was any kind of intention, but there's no place on here for him to sign, and I just asked him to sign it just in case the insurance company wanted it to be validated, and I'm not making this up as a fake receipt. Can you pay cash or card? Cash gives you a little bit of a discount, but I wanted to pay card. I didn't have my checks with me, and I could use the mileage points. And as far as the procedure codes are concerned, he has them on his website. So I highly suggest before you do this to see if your insurance does cover it, because half the cost is covering, or 60%, depending on your deductible and plan. That's a pretty good chunk of the cost to cover. What I did was I went online to contact my insurance company before I decided to do this, way before, and told them, here's the procedure code. How much do you cover? And they'll cover, in my case, I think it's 60% up to a certain amount. So make sure when they just say, oh, it's 50% covered, 40% covered, whatever, that doesn't mean it's unlimited. They'll up to a certain amount. So if you got to make sure you understand that, so you can understand your total cost of the operation or the procedure. So what's my final evaluation and my recommendation? Would I do it again? Would I suggest it for you? I don't know if I would suggest for you. It's really going to depend upon your situation, how dense the floaters are, how many floaters you have, whether you have a Weiss ring or you have a PVD. That's really up to you. I can only give you my recommendation from what I have, and maybe you treat that as a baseline and adjust accordingly. But with the total cost coming to $2,100, that includes, I think, let me look at here, it's a $250 consultation fee, $1,850 treatment for 2 days. If you need more, you're going to have to pay for more treatments. And then with the insurance hopefully covering part of it, I'm not going to count on that, but if it does, that would be a nice reduction of my overall cost, plus 2 nights in a hotel. And I also am a 6-hour drive. I live in Phoenix. It's a 6-hour drive and 6 hours back. Overall, would I do it again? I would say absolutely yes, I would do it again. And the reason is it has really helped me focus on my overall day-to-day activities rather than waking up immediately seeing that big dot that I had in the middle of my eye or lower bottom, and that big cobwebby. I can open my eyes in the morning, and if I want to see them, I can see them. But if I choose not to see them and I just get used to them, as they say, I can get used to them. Now the challenge is my left eye, which had maybe less floaters than my right eye, is becoming more noticeable. Okay? So when I'm going now, let me just give you a couple examples. When I'm on a computer, white screen, so I work for work, I can't do dark mode properly. It's somehow locked down. So I've got basically a white background for Word documents, websites, etc. I'm no longer feeling like I'm seeing this kind of stuff come down. More on my left eye, but now I'm just focused on the screen. And again, if I kind of unfocus and look at the floater, I can see them. But I focus at the screen, less noticeable. It's like having a little bit of a dark patchy
thing that is very translucent and it's not very well defined, so it doesn't bother me as much. When I walk around the home and if I'm watching TV, barely notice them. Now, I have not been able to go to the office yet where you have fluorescent lighting, which may make a difference. We're now, as we're taping this, we're in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak and we're all working from home. But I think just from the looking at the computer and the stuff that I've done, looking at my phone, things of this nature, I do not see or notice the floaters as much as I did before. So I would definitely do it. It's up to you. If you have similar to what I have, mild floaters, distracting, frustrating, sometimes maybe a little bit of a headache, wondering if you're ever going to see clearly again, I would give it a try. Weiss ring, doctor says he's really good at those, but I'm wondering if they break them up so much that you'll see, rather than just the ring, maybe several small, I would like call them dust dots in your eyes. You might see that. It might be an improvement in and of itself that you'd be willing to do it. If you have a lot of separate little floaters and stuff in your eyes, I don't know. All I can say is this. Dr. Johnson, the floater doctor, is a very legitimate doctor. He's very passionate about what he does. He's dedicated to his practice. He's fair. He will give you at least at the time of right now, I don't know if he's changed anything in the future, but I'm sure he still does it, a 15-minute phone conversation to talk about your problems and what he thinks he can do. He does not promise 100% clear vision. You will not get that with any type of laser treatment. I just don't think so, not at least with the laser you have today. Will it help you? Yes. Will you get 100% clear? You're going to be disappointed. And that was not, as you remember in the beginning of this video, that was not my goal. My goal was to at least be able to tolerate and ignore these floaters, and I've gotten to that point. Don't waste your time. Go on to these other ophthalmologists who say they may do it. Okay, I think there's only, other than Dr. Johnson, I think there's only 2 or 3 in the US that does this floater treatment with YAG laser only, or that's a big part of their practice. If you're going to a general ophthalmologist, you're probably going to be wasting your time, because I told you before, I probably saw 4, 5, or 6 of them. Most of them said they do the laser, and some said they couldn't see the floaters. Some said they could. Some say it was too close to the lens. And they gave me all the excuses in the world of why they wouldn't do it. So you're going to have to bite. If you want to do this, you're going to have to bite the bullet. Take the trip if you're not in Los Angeles, down to see Dr. Johnson. Get the treatment done, and just and I'm pretty sure you'll be pleased with the results. He is a legit doctor, and he will do his best. This is all he does. So if your budget allows, I think I wouldn't go into debt to do this unless your floaters are really a health concern for you. Save up your money. Don't do 1 vacation or 2 vacations a year. Take those away. If you really want to do it, save your money. Don't go into debt. I put it on my credit card, but I pay those off at the end of the month for my points. And I would highly suggest you consider doing it. Give them a call or set up a call. Everything's legit, above board. You know what you're getting into. Good luck to you. I hope this video helps you. I'm happy to respond to any comments or questions you may have in the comment section of YouTube here. I will say there's probably going to be people say that I went to Dr. Johnson and it made it worse. I can't specifically deal with each individual case. I can only tell you mine. I'm proof that it definitely helps for your floaters, at least in my case. And if I have any updates following this and there's any issues that pop up a month later, 2 years later or something, I'll be sure to have a follow-up video. But for now, everything's pretty good. Thank you. Good luck.